Welcome back, everybody, to the Rice and Beans Show. It is the week of December 14th. My name is Matt Stoner. I am here with Stephen Anthony Lawrence, Max Rice, and our first guest. We have Jake Leahy, the youngest elected politician in Illinois history, joining us this afternoon. We have quite a show coming up for you today. We have a few different topics that we're going through. Of course, one of the biggest news stories of the week is going to be the impending government shutdown and whether or not we're going to get there. We have Trump's Supreme Court rejection of his challenge of the voting results in several key swing states. We have whether or not Dianne Feinstein is still fit to be serving in her office. And then, of course, Max's favorite for the day, we have Eric Swalwell and his association with an alleged Chinese spy. Let's get to it. Let's go ahead and start out with our government shutdown. Gentlemen, we are at the brink of a government shutdown this week. It seems that things are very scary and both sides seem to be playing games again with the lives of the American people. Where do we stand on this? And what can we do as constituents to ensure that people are doing their jobs?
Well, the good thing is Congress doesn't have what I have right here, which is balls.
Balls.
So, shoot, I need a can opener. But no, it's a twist off. It's a twist off. They got strong hands in Congress. But no, yeah. So the good news is there is an election coming up on January 5th, and so I think both sides. I think they actually kind of temporarily averted it for the time being because both sides don't want egg on their face.
What's really shameful, man, is how many government employees are still only $400 away from a personal emergency. People don't really realize how many people actually depend on government money, other than police, firefighters, hospitals, native reservations. Man, I remember a couple of years ago, I was about to go teach acting at a tribe up in Northern California, and of course, I get up there and the government shuts down. All of a sudden, I'm about 5 hours from home, and now they're not going to pay me. So, yeah, man, a lot of people don't really realize how many people this could affect, especially in these times when we're about to roll out this massive vaccine. We got millions of people, unemployed or underemployed. A shutdown would be absolutely disastrous in these times.
Jake, you're a state employee.
I am not a state employee, thankfully. And I don't rely on it, but you look at what's happened this year. I mean, from COVID shutdowns, now a potential government shutdown, a $1,200 stimulus check. I mean, that's the extent of the relief for most people. Plenty of bailouts for, big corporations, the airline industry, things like that. Those companies are doing fine and still laid people off. But we've had a $1,200 check sent to people. That seems a little bit inadequate, especially when we're talking about another potential issue coming up here. Looks like it'll be pushed off a little bit. Maybe the election will help either make something happen compromise-wise or without having divided government. But it seems like clearly what we've done to help most people is severely inadequate while we've been picking winners and losers.
Jake, you raise a good point because besides Balls, who should be a sponsor of this show, the government lacks money because they decided to bail out big corporations and airlines and defense contractors and Kanye West and all these Instagrammers taking advantage of the PPP system while small businesses no longer exist. So, yeah, so that's the problem too. Is there's going to be some hard decisions that have to be made, and when you're going to have a thin margin, no matter if it's Republican or Democrat in the House, and so that's the fear. There might be a shutdown because the margins are so thin and we're so broke.
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely insanity.
25% of all the money in circulation was printed last year. And we owe, I think, 27, probably $30 trillion at this point.
Well,
over 120 in obligations. Yeah.
I was looking up, how much money we've already given out, right? If we gave that money literally just to people instead of corporations, it would be around something like $23,000 each, and out of that we get 1,200 frickin' bucks.
So Stephen, you're a Democrat. You support a bailout like that. I'm a Republican. I support a bailout like that. We got an elected official on the show, Jake. Would you support a bailout in that type of way?
any normal person would, look at it and say that's where our money should be going, right? I mean, look at PPP. That helped a lot of small businesses. But remember that first round, right? It was all the big clients of these banks who got the money first. And a lot of them either took it as a low interest loan or they just basically disregarded, the requirements to keep people on the payroll. And, that's who got the benefit more than anybody. A PPP program helping real small businesses is huge. And a program actually giving people money as a bailout. I mean, it seems like now would be almost too late, right? I mean, it's, they're talking about another $1,200 check. I mean, last I checked, this started all like 9 months ago. Where was that in June? Where was that in August? And Max brings up an important point about the debt. This is when you spend money. This is why you don't run trillion-dollar deficits when the economy is doing well. And that's one thing I think that people ignore. During the Trump administration, you saw great economic growth, but you also saw increased government spending. It's simple economics to say that that's not sustainable, and that's not the way to foster long-term economic growth.
I don't see anything changing.
That being said, history has taught us anything. You kind of spend a little bit. Look at the Great Depression. Look at post World War II. A little bit of spending in the economy works. We've been down this road before. The problem that pisses me off and every other American is these banks. They will make $3 billion a quarter, right? So these people profit. After everybody's paid, they pay their rent, they pay their employees. Every quarter, they make $3 billion, right? And they've been profitable for the last 10 years. So they make $3 billion every 3 months for 10 years. And then all of a sudden, we don't have enough money?
Yeah.
What the hell?
And I have friends in prison for theft, like physical theft, but also like financial crimes. I'm not gonna say who, but anyways, like they go to jail. Like if you steal from a bank, you go to prison for a long time, and that's a federal crime. But when banks commit crimes, even when it's just like the Bank of America personal, like the security crime, and also just like what happened in 2008, no one went to jail at all. And that's pretty crazy, like the double standard on accountability.
That's my father's a warehouse lending attorney. He was the one who went to Congress in 2008 and was telling them, hey, look, if you guys are doing these types of loans, eventually everything is going to fold in on itself. And, he had friends that were in the market and ended up cashing out things like $2-3 million in cash because they didn't want to let it sit in the market. And luckily, the people that were informed and were able to get out were doing just fine. But again, it's the people here that are not being informed. It's the people that do not have substantial amounts of life savings. It's people that did or that do not have money in the market that are being affected most. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks, especially with the anticipated voting in with the Electoral College of Joe Biden on Monday. That's tomorrow. We shoot this on Sunday, so this will probably be in the past at this point. But I think it's a good segue point in going into another big point of the week, which is going to be the Supreme Court rejecting the Trump administration's case to rehear arguments regarding throwing out votes in key swing states. Once again, we are seeing very limited evidence of voter fraud, if there is voter fraud at all. And it seems that I think just now taxpayer resources that could be going to the people are being wasted on things like this. What are your thoughts on the allocation of resources that are going towards fighting these legal cases for the Trump team? And should he just kind of stop?
Well, the thing that really kind of makes me laugh, and I would never have believed this if you told me, the 3 judges that Trump himself appointed struck it down. If you would have told me that was one of my biggest worries, to be honest.
Good judges.
Yeah, I did not see that happening, man. So as much shit as I was talking about his picks and how they're a bunch of loyalists, I got proven wrong, and I will be happy to admit that.
And Matt, do you think we wasted resources on the Russia investigations and questioning that election?
Because technically, we didn't.
Those were good resources.
More money on that. We wasted.
We made money. Yeah, we did by getting Manafort and Michael Cohen for taxing medallion, but for tax and medallion fraud. That was good resources.
Yeah, at least we made them. All right, back,
we got some money back. Yeah,
spend first and ask questions later.
It's across. I mean, remember the congressional testimonies for steroid use in the MLB. What was that, 2009 or so?
Did we get anyone? Did anyone go to jail for that?
why were we spending money on that, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
money on these things that just don't really make any sense. But being to your point about the judges, that's why I've said all along that true constitutional judges are actually the best check that Democrats could hope for on Trump. And that turned out to be the case. Especially like Neil Gorsuch, for example. I think he's a great textualist judge who's going to follow the law, and he won't pick sides. And, if his side is wrong, he's going to go against them. And that's what you saw. So I think that's a great, great sign for why, following the law as a judge is so important.
So, John Roberts even said there is no such thing as a conservative judge or a liberal judge. There are only good judges. And, we definitely saw that in this case. It's one of the things where a lot of the people that were afraid, because you saw the stories come out that, in the hanging Chad incident in 2004,
2000.
three of the people that are now in the Supreme Court were the three primary judges that were trying this case. So it's really interesting to sort of see how that did not turn into case precedent, because this is such a vastly different case.
It's funny that the Bush legal team, a lot of their people ended up becoming Supreme Court judges, appellate judges, attorney generals, stuff like that. I don't think this Trump legal team is going to see that same escalation in the future. Just a bet. I mean,
you don't think Rudy is going to he's running for president?
Legal system for that much longer.
Yeah, and I've said it on this show. Rudy freaking sucks. Like, he really just was a clown in the way that he put this case together and tried his case. And so the Supreme Court justice they kind of had to, like, to have the star witness be that girl that was that like just totally made herself known as biased, and like turns out has some like revenge porn history where she was like,
I'm telling you, man, if Just for Men doesn't reach out to Rudy Giuliani and ask him to be their spokesperson, they are missing a golden marketing opportunity right now. I'm telling you.
They need to find out who dye that was, and the rival needs to be like, look, this product sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna sweat down your face at the trial of your life.
That's amazing. All right, we're going to completely pivot now and sort of talk again about a governmental official. But, Max knows a little bit more sort of the background of this than I do at this point. But we're going to be talking about California Representative Dianne Feinstein, who has been having conversations recently that she's not remembering. And people are starting to question whether or not she is fit to be serving in office. Again, a Democrat in California's Senate. Senate.
Senate. Longest serving senators.
Yeah, longest serving senator in history, now 84 years old.
So the odds that she wears diapers is probably like 30%.
Almost 90 years
Is that a
old.
real statistic?
On Quora, I looked it up. I think it's 30%. We're just going to use it. I mean, there's a big chance. Nadler's definitely wearing diapers. You saw him shat himself in one of the hearings. It's pretty obvious.
I mean, yeah, there's a couple of pictures of Trump, but still, I mean, it goes to it literally. I mean, it seems a little freaking weird to be a white guy bitching about representation, but it's the truth. My God, why are there so many damn old people in Congress? They really do not represent.
And just like on a meritocracy, like she's the best person to represent all of California. Some like 84-year-old.
It's interesting too. So this poses a really sort of dangerous question, in my opinion, and this is whether or not we can. And we saw conversations about this both for Trump and Biden throughout the campaign, and it's whether or not we should be issuing tests for cognitive ability to elected government officials, because I feel like that's a very slippery slope. It could be very problematic. But when you are facing a situation like this, it is necessary. She is the longest serving Democratic senator out there, and somehow is not remembering conversations about her cognitive ability that are being asked by her colleagues.
And her driver was a Chinese spy. That now came out. Apparently she didn't know anything about it, but she doesn't know anything about anything. We're now finding out. And no one finds it controversial that I need to take a test every 4 years for my driver's license. And I'm just a citizen. Like, she has like super secret intelligence, and we don't want her to just blab to some random person on the street because she doesn't remember the last 5 minutes. It's very sad. There's nothing sadder to see someone go through a cognitive decline, especially someone you love. But get her out of there.
Here's the thing: it's going to happen to everybody. Everybody eventually. You start off wearing diapers and you end up wearing diapers. It's going to happen to everybody. But it is. There's a bell curve there. But that being said, just how there's an age limit to be in office, maybe there should be an age limit to be in office. If
There's some 80-year-olds that are in, like Clint Eastwood. I don't know if you guys believe in this, but he could do it.
yeah,
Like there's
well,
certain
I don't
people.
think
It's
the
the
limit
age.
is to
It's
the
not the
degree of
age. It's
ageism.
it's the cognitive ability.
Yeah.
Because there are people that are young that have cognitive decline, like
Well, and
the
there's
guy from Pink
probably
Floyd. This guy's
and
name.
there's probably some really smart 16-year-olds
Britney
that should be
Spears.
voting. But here's the thing: the vast
Yeah.
majority of 16-year-olds are a bunch of freaking morons. So, we have an age limit for that too. 18.
Jake, I saw you starting a minute ago. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I was going to add about kind of interjecting, kind of pivoting on that. But you bring up this all started really when she was chairing the Senate Judiciary hearings on Amy Coney Barrett about how she had told a lot of the Democrats about how great it was, and how happy she was that she'd been confirmed in the way or she was as the ranking member as the Democrat. And a lot of people, I think, took issue with that. So what I hate about the way that these conversations tend to happen is that this kind of started kind of from the left, saying, oh, she's not there because of these other things that probably are also true. Right? I mean, but look at, the attacks on Joe Biden's cognitive decline, which probably has some legitimacy too. The attacks on Trump's mental stability, which probably also has some legitimacy. But, there's nobody who seems to be able to be like, yeah, this person has some problems, like this person, like we probably should have that conversation, but it seems to just be when it's a political enemy, which is kind of
too partisan.
frustrating.
That's a great point, Jake. Is we do
That's
have
a
to
great
look at our own and say, hey, it's time for you to put the keys in, because there's a lot of Republicans that didn't retire because they were in their 90s.
Yeah,
that
but I mean,
were silent on.
60 years, 50 years.
Yeah.
At that same point, though, man, we could have asked, rest in peace, Ginsburg to step down when Obama was in office so that he could have appointed somebody younger. So,
the shame on the media for pretending like she was in shape, and they would that was such propaganda when they would show her lifting a 5-pound weight, and they're like, look, see, it was Weekend at Bernie's, Supreme Court adjusted. Because I mean, I hate to say that, but yeah,
but it's
now,
true.
Yeah, now you got Amy Coney Barrett, liberals.
So
That's
I mean, but
happens.
here's the thing:
Yeah.
what would be the right thing to do there? Do you do it just so that darn good and well Trump is going to appoint a conservative judge? Do you specifically ask her to step down so that Obama could then replace her with somebody younger? I mean,
They should have had cognitive test type thing, because I don't want to speak ill of the dead, because I do respect her, she did accomplish a lot.
but
there probably was a decline at the end, the
but
last
there's
few
a
years.
morality question there.
Yeah.
Replacing her specifically only because of her age.
Not her age. I'm saying her decline. Because I think there was at the end.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, you're only replacing her so that you can have your party in there longer. That's the only.
But there's a huge
morality
national
question.
security issue that you're having. You're having cases that are literally going to make the law of the land for every different state. You got to have someone that's cognizant.
I'm gonna say but
yeah.
It's also very convenient too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as so circling back to Feinstein too, again, that national security issue, we're going to be going on to Max's favorite one of the day. This is going to be the conversation about Eric Swalwell and his association with who we now know is a Chinese spy, his complete denial that he knew anything about it. And also I heard that he actually had a staffer that was in his office that was pushed through by this woman. And Nancy Pelosi still seems to be standing by and acting as if this is not really a huge deal.
And you're forgetting one key part, Matt. She also was a fundraiser.
What am I missing?
She was a bundler for him.
I did not know this.
Yeah, not looking good, Swalwell.
Bad.
Not looking good. But he did not have a sexual relationship with that spy. They were just friends.
I mean,
He raised him a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the shocker? A man's dick is getting him in trouble. Shocker.
I think it's very common for people to criticize their opponents of what they do, because everyone was a Russian spy for the last 3 years. Don Jr. he had proof about Trump being a Russian spy, and they all had sexual blackmail, and it turns out he was in the same exact situation.
See, isn't it funny though that it's great that whenever it's the people that are most adamant anti-homosexual end up being gay, the people that are all of my opponents are Russian spies, it turns out that he's in association with a
Yeah.
spy from a hostile foreign government.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
like Jerry
it's whole,
Falwell Jr.
like,
for that. He
I-
I mean, how pissed would you be if you went to Liberty University, a university where you can't drink, you can't have sex, you can't curse, and your dean is a drunk that's like getting wasted at like cruise parties, like jacking off while someone's sleeping with their wife.
I
He's
just,
encouraging it.
keep
Yeah,
picturing,
yeah.
I just keep picturing Austin Powers, and when he had the one, Chinese, two sisters, the identical twins.
Fook me and Fook you.
Oh,
yeah.
fuck you. I'm just waiting for those two to be the ones that busted frickin' Swalwell.
Oh, of course.
I
Oh,
would
that's too funny.
the stuff.
So I mean, what happens from here?
Jake?
We're at a place now where it's like, what can be done here? How do we rectify the situation? Jake, I know you were talking.
Apparently extends way beyond him too, right? Like there's all these mayors and all these random like officials. Like it's interesting. I was reading about how she's just ran away. She's not in contact with anybody anymore, and she just left one day. Apparently it's more than just him, which I think is something that I guess has been happening. It's
She got more desperate too. It was like it turned like as like in more recent days, they saw her with like elderly mayors and was like their girlfriend. So she kind of went downhill. Like she went from, because it was Swalwell and there was also another congressperson in California.
Yeah,
I'm blanking on.
the two mayors. Yeah, the two Midwestern mayors.
Midwest, yeah, and then, it is kind of, and she also was friends with the Swalwell's father and brother on Facebook, and they were all like liking each other's posts up until pretty recent.
Okay, so here's what we need to do. Like the NFL already does this, right? The NFL has these how to spot a gold digger classes. They literally have freaking classes like that available for the rookies. So maybe we should start doing that for like the rookie congressman coming in here, or the Congress, the
For
some new
Lindsey
member
Graham,
orientation.
all the Bachelor Congress people like Lindsey Graham and Katie Hill.
how to
Yeah.
spot a honeypot 101.
Allegedly, Jan Schakowsky, who I ran against, there was an allegation there that she got honeypotted by a Turkish spy. But no, apparently it's a big thing. And Jeff, it's kind of funny because people will accept 1 + 1, but they won't accept that it equals 2. Because like people will accept Jeffrey Epstein in that story, and that he was blackmailing all these politicians. But as Jake said kind of earlier, they won't accept that. Not my guy. Like I'm a Democrat. That's not possible with my guy, or I'm a Republican. That lady like Lindsey Graham is an upstanding individual. There's no way. There's no way that he's being blackmailed.
Oh, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, any closing arguments on our four conversations for the day? Or, I'd like to spend a few minutes just talking to Jake about his experience in politics, and especially, what it's like being the youngest politician in Illinois history, and also what we can do to keep young people engaged in not just the political discourse, but also actively engaged in politics, since it does seem that we do have a bit of an age problem these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one thing I've learned, so I ran 4 years ago for my local school board. And I was 18 years and 18 days old when I got elected on election day. And what you realize is that actually when you have a seat at the table, we talk about that in a lot of ways for a lot of groups of people who haven't had that seat. You actually can bring out a lot of good things that people just like didn't think of. My first thing that I did was we changed our district. It's an elementary district. We changed our calendar to match the high school district, so that families, when they went on vacation, they didn't have to have one day missing here, one there. Like it's a stupid little thing, but it just had been the way it was done, and nobody thought to question it. And the way that young people having a seat at the table can actually have an impact. You don't have to be in office either to do that. And I've often told people now, if you have a criticism of your city, don't just make a nasty Facebook post saying the city sucks, it does this. Like email the mayor and say, hey, have you ever thought about this? I live here. Email the city council. You never know when you're trying to be constructive, because a lot of decisions that are made are just made because you have to make a decision. You don't really think about it, and that's, I guess, the one thing I'd leave with is that you can have a lot more power than you think, especially the more local you think. And that's something that people should realize, and that, just being informed, being active, if you follow, I'm guarantee you show up to your local park district board 4 times, they're going to know who you are and value your opinion. Like it doesn't take much, especially now with Zoom. that's, I guess what I'd leave it with is that, all politics is local. That's what they've always said. And there's a lot you can get done, especially now. I mean, talk about with COVID, it's been a whirlwind and and way different than what my first 3 years on the board have been. But it's certainly something that you can get a lot done and represent a lot of important interests.
Jake, what's an opinion that changed or something that you've learned? It's not like the end of your term. I've always kind of been curious about that.
That's a great question. My main opinion that's changed is that most of the time when people are making decisions, it's not cut and dry. I mean, I voted to close schools. I voted to open schools. I voted for basically, it's you never know what the information is, and you have to always be willing to adapt. People who have absolute certain opinion on something, who aren't willing to really talk about it or have a conversation, probably don't really know what they're talking about, and I would tend to hesitate away from them. I mean, even look at Dr. Fauci. Like, he's been wrong, and he's been right. And, if you're not willing to look at the new information that comes in, you're doing everybody a disservice. So, at the end of the day, it's nice to, we're a nonpartisan board, so it's nice because I don't have to have, political interest or anything like that. Like, we're making decisions based on what we think is right. And if we're wrong, you can tell me that I'm wrong and tell me why. I'm happy to hear that. But don't tell me, oh, you just think, you're evil and you believe this, right? It's like, no, I'm trying to do what's right for the most people. So, and it's tough. But that's my big takeaway. And I hope that people, consider when they're looking at local stuff. Because, again, most people are trying to do their best. So.
Good, and that's the big reason why we do this show, seriously, so that people can learn how to have those conversations in a hopefully funny manner, and learn not to take themselves and shit so damn serious, man. And there is a way to communicate about what's going on in the world instead of through caps and exclamation points.
Jake, what is the funniest thing you've seen so far in your time in office?
Funniest? Oh.
Yeah, that's not sad. Like, that's actually funny. I'm sure you probably saw a bunch sad.
The funniest is questions about when I was first running. 4 years ago, the most common question I got at the door was who I support in the presidential election, and I'd be like, this has nothing to do with anything. And my answer was I wasn't old enough, so thankfully I didn't have to make it big. But yeah, I mean, it's that's the big thing. It's just that disconnect between people really don't understand. What are the issues? At the local level. That's the big takeaway. I mean, this is the type of conversation people should be having, right? I mean, we can all come from different parts of the political spectrum. I could say when one of you is wrong, I could say one of you is right. And, if I say you're wrong, it's not because I'm calling you evil. It's because I just think that we come to a different conclusion. Like, that's the way it should be.
You went to sorry.
Go ahead, Max.
No, you, Matt. I was going to say you went to the school that you're on the school board of. So how's that? Do you do any revenge or, I mean, we can't say this on camera, but I just know me, that if I was on my high school board, there'd be a lot of firings on day one. And some raises. I liked a lot of my teachers. But how is that change of perspective?
Especially now, so I'm the vice president of the board now. And in some teacher union meetings with union leadership and their teachers that I had literally for 9 years. So it's definitely it's a different situation, especially in a smaller district where a lot of the teachers I had for more than 1 year. But it's interesting. Thankfully, I didn't have any vendettas against any of the teachers, and I don't think any of them had it against me. Maybe I don't know. But it's a crazy thing to be on the other side of decision making. But it's a cool experience, that's for sure.
So being so young and especially being involved in politics at such a young age, I know that your term is coming up soon. You don't have to tell us whether or not you are going to, but are you thinking about running again, and do you have any hopes for higher office?
So I said for about a year that I will not run again. I'm never running for office ever again. It's especially during COVID. I will be running for a 2-year term. That's up, and I haven't announced my announcement. We have a strategic planning coming up over the summer for the next 5, 10, 20-year plan. And to get through the rest of COVID, we're implementing testing, and I think it's important to be part of, just that final turnaround. We've had a lot of turnaround on our board. So I'll be running again, and I will not be running for any other office ever again. And I'll probably move out to some secluded mountain in Wyoming after this. I don't know.
Never say never.
Grow all
never
your
say
own
never.
food, get off the grid. I know. Hey, well, Jake, thank you so much for joining us today. This is going to be our Rice and Bean show for the week. Please, everybody, scroll down, subscribe, go ahead and join us again next week. We'll be here same time, same place. We look forward to seeing you then.